So it is July 8th, 2017. Isn't it July 8th?
Yes.
July 8th, Sabbath, 2017, and I'm sitting here with Dad and Mom, and you can see from the circumstances around us that things are a little disheveled, but there's a reason why. Mom and Dad are selling the house after all these years. So we thought we might share some stories about Niebuhr Road growing up.
49 years.
49 years, that's right, since 1968, Dad.
Yep. It's when we built here.
And we had many, many memories over the years in this house, in every room. And what we're going to do is take this summer and capture a recording of some of those memories. And so today is going to begin with Mom and Dad sharing how they met, how their lives began, and eventually we'll get back to Niebuhr Road. So, Dad, take it away. How did you meet Mom?
Well, let me start with, I was a kind of a gangly kid when I was growing up, and through the teenage years, I was stretching out a bit. I ended up to be the tallest in my family, and we each year we would have a summer a young people's convention in Portland at the Benson Auditorium. And this one time we went to, and it was so packed. And Fern had come from her town, which was St. Helens area, and we had never met before, but here she was, the most beautiful girl I ever did see. And I've had lots of girlfriends through the years, but she topped them all. She affected me in such a way that I had to have her. So there was no room to sit down, so we were kind of standing up, and I just had met her. She was standing in front of me, I was standing behind, and I noticed that she was kind of just moving back just a bit against me, and I thought, oh boy, she's interested in me too. Anyway, from there on, we started writing to each other every week, and maybe Mom would like to have something to say right here. Go ahead, Mom.
I had been having dates with a steady boyfriend who I thought was pretty special. He was tall too. I guess I was attracted to tall men. But at any rate, we had broken up a number of weeks before this, going to this convention. When I got there, I saw Lyle, who was tall, good looking, and I thought, I wonder if he's already attached to some girl. So.
And were you attached at that moment?
No, I wasn't.
No. Okay.
So anyway, I think it was providential that we both met at that time, because we were both in between relationships and more receptive to each other. He started smiling a great deal and started talking. Now he, at that point, was not a person of a lot of verbal things, but he was able to talk to me. In fact, he walked, after the meeting, walked me out to the car where I was with my parents, and we drove away, and I thought, I wonder if I'll see him again. And sure enough, I got a letter from him, and that started our correspondence back and forth. It started out once a week he would write, but then got more frequent, till I think every night as his routine he would write me a letter, and I always looked forward to that. End of the story.
Then from there on, I would borrow the Forks car when I could, and go down to St. Helens and go to church with her, and then spend the afternoon and evening with her. We would take the car and explore the back roads behind St. Helens, and then that progressed.
Now, would that be something that would be typical of a date back then? To, or was that something that?
Actually, I had no real experience on dating.
Right.
So, and I had no money, so, well, I had very little money, maybe, if we ought to put it that way.
Uh-huh.
So, it's a wonder she stayed with me, because I didn't spend any money on her, except when her birthday rolled around. I said, I've got to get something special for her. So I went down to the jeweler and looked and looked and looked and looked, and I come up with a watch.
Band.
What?
Watch band.
A watch band, yeah, for her watch. It was a special watch band, and so I wrapped that up and took it to her on her birthday, or give it to her on her birthday. Her folks didn't think that was appropriate, because we hadn't met too many months before that, and
They felt as though that symbolized too much commitment on your
Yeah.
part.
yeah, that was getting too familiar.
Too familiar.
Yeah, and so they didn't appreciate that much. Anyway, it went on, and her folks thought they ought to get acquainted with my folks, because things were getting kind of close to us.
Sure.
And so they invited them down there, and my dad, with his jokes, we always called them grandpa jokes, come off with one of those jokes that people didn't really appreciate. He had a piece of her mother's pie, and he said, "Oh, this stuff tastes musty." and you know what that must have made her mother feel.
Not too good.
But anyway, we got through that one.
Go ahead and explain what he was talking about, though.
What?
You need to explain why musty.
Oh, well, musty, he meant it must have another piece.
Oh, I see. Had nothing to do with its smell.
No, it wasn't anything to do with the smell. That was just a joke that
Oh,
he liked the pie.
His dry sense of humor was.
It tastes like he must have another piece of pie.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And she didn't get the joke, obviously.
Well, I don't know. She probably finally did, but
Yeah.
anyway.
That actually wasn't the joke.
What was the joke?
The joke was my mother got up when we were finished eating, saying, "Well, I'll go out and get the dessert." And Grandpa said, "Desert? I don't see any desert around here." and then he'd laugh like he
Yeah.
thought that was so funny.
Right.
Because he didn't have really an appropriate sense of humor.
Right.
It was foolishness most of the time.
Uncle
Anyway.
Dean sort of.
Anyway, one time I was eating lunch with him on Sabbath, and came to the pie time, and her mother always made pie without a lot of shortening in the crust, so it was kind of hard to cut.
Through.
And I was pushing real hard on the fork, and the fork was one of those forks that had a bone handle.
Mhm.
Anyway, it broke right in half, and I was very embarrassed. I didn't know what to say, but Anyway, from there on, we were skipping quite a bit. Her folks then got a job up at White Salmon, Washington. Her dad was a plumber, and he was. Is your camera gone?